Good evening. It looks like we are live, unless it's not 7 o'clock on Wednesday Eastern time. Then you're watching this as a video. So, welcome to the Medium channel where we bring you the spirituality behind the message. And tonight is about the Ascension Updates for November 2021. And it's a busy month, it's a very energized month. So, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack. Firstly, this is an amazing time. It's an awakening. So there's no doom or gloom. It's a fluid situation. It's all evolving in consciousness. The idea is the more we can raise our individual consciousnesses, the more we can affect collective consciousness and make this awakening period not so terrible or not so traumatic, and try to make it as smooth as possible. But what we're experiencing now is a phenomena where a lot of people are awakening, but there's those powers that be, the forces that try to control and guide humanity. Whether you call them the elite or deep state, the powers that pretty much run everything and control everything. Um, and besides that, a lot of people are very fearful of change and awakening. The long and the short of it is that there's a lot of disparity that's increasing. So it's more people awaken, but other people are trying to stop the awakening or are afraid, or they're programmed by the powers that be, because those are the control thing. They know that everything's energy. They know that there's a shift in consciousness. But so what's happening, it creates this kind of stretching of the rubber band effect until it finally snaps. So anyway, today what we're going to talk about are messages that I'm getting from spirit, um, predictions that are choice centered. They're not written in stone. Like I said, it's fluid. I'm going to explain a little bit about the numerology and the astrology, and give you some spiritual practice. I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot also, and to share the 5 things that we need to know to stay healthy, strong, and to stay on our path this month. So that's basically the theme of that. So I'm just saying hi to the live people and just hoping that everybody's hearing me okay. So it is an awakening, but awakenings do have its consequences. Um, and like I said, nothing's written in stone. It's a fluid situation. So the awakening, the spiritual awakening, is the beginning of a process. It's not the end. So we're not developing our spiritual practices as the final goal to awaken. It's more like once we awaken, we start to understand higher consciousness. We start to understand that we're not our bodies, we're spirits having human experiences. That is where the path really begins, or where you jump into that circle of no circumference, because the spiritual path has no beginning and no ending. There's just a jumping in point and a landing point, basically. So I had and a lot of you are having awakenings, and that's part of the energy of 2021 and 2022, and this is going to go on and on. I had my awakening in 1979. There was not a lot of support. I did not know what was happening. And I'm going to share this quickly because some of you may be having similar experiences now, because awakening happens when our genetically encoded light codes start to fire up, when our energy level, where our frequency or our vibration reaches a certain threshold. And then encoded DNA, encoded from what? Maybe extraterrestrials, maybe our forebears from the future or the past. And I, for whatever reason, maybe what I was doing in past lives, mine clicked in. I wasn't doing any spiritual work that I know of. It just kind of clicked in. I was starting martial arts. But what happened is, basically in a flash of light, for a millisecond, I knew everything. I fell on my knees. I was crying, and I was just saying to myself, everything I've learned is a complete lie. And now I need to learn the truth. And after the awakening happened, what I found is that I was starting to, be very telepathic. Like, I would know what people were going to say before they said it. I knew what people were about. Like, I could see the mask that people show to the world. and then I could see that it wasn't their true selves. And what else was going on? I was basically becoming telekinetic, so I was starting to move things with my mind. I was starting to influence the weather, and all this kind of stuff was happening. Now, that effect really only lasted a couple of months, but the connection with weather and nature, like being able to just kind of clear my mind and breathe a certain way and have the winds blow and the clouds form. And I used to take my friends out. I mean, I was a bit of a show off, I guess, but the long and the short of it is that I reached a certain point in my evolution where spirit came, my main spirit guide came and said, I've gone as far as I can. I need to go back in the world. And then life got really, really, really freaking hard. And I feel like 40 years later, I'm still recovering. So sometimes awakenings, there's different types of awakenings. Sometimes there's partial awakenings, there's full awakenings. And as you reach certain levels, there's new awakenings. But this was just kind of my, I don't know what the right word is, introduction or initiation into a higher part of my being, the part of me that's spirit and that's immortal. And I had these effects. I wanted to just share a little bit about that. I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, very good. So let's dive right in, I guess. And again, thank you everybody for stopping in this evening and keeping me company. So firstly, let's go a little bit over the astrology of what's happening. I just want to peek in my notes because I wrote these down because I didn't want to miss anything. I think I caught everything. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just saying I'm going to share the 5 things that we need to know to thrive and stay healthy, and some spiritual practices and exercises that will be most beneficial this month. Again, it's not negative or doom or gloom or anything like that. This is a beautiful time, but it's challenging. There's some very hard energy that's coming in, but there's also some really beautiful energy that's coming in. So, firstly, the numerology of November, universal numerology, it's 16, which reduces to 7. And we're going to have Sharita Starr, the expert on numerology and astrology, on October the 8th at 1 o'clock doing a live stream with us. So she's going to break down a few things and talk about the fact that the USA is heading towards its first Pluto return, which is, what does it take, 240 some odd years for Pluto to circle the sun. And it's very interesting times. It's going to bring really, really great change. Now, key 16 in the tarot is the Tower card. In Chaldean numerology, brings about the destruction and change that's necessary for positive growth to take place. Now, we have 16 months a lot. This isn't the first time. It won't be the last time. The last time November fell on a 16-month was in 2012. So 2012 and 2021 had the same numerology. They both add up to 5. So what happened in 2012? There's a little storm that barreled into the East Coast called Hurricane Sandy. That happened at the very end of October. There's a lot of unrest in Syria and the Middle East. There is some problems with the election. Yeah, and Obama was eventually declared the winner, but there were problems. But the stakes are a lot higher this time around. So what's happening is Uranus is going to be a very, very big player this month. Uranus is currently in Taurus. Am I getting that right? Yeah, I think Uranus is in Taurus. And going to be a very, very big player. Uranus is the planet of revolutionary change. So that's a theme. We may start to reach a little bit of a tipping point this month where things get very, very tense, I want to say. Now, the month started out very pleasant, actually. Mercury and Jupiter were in a trine. This is like our mind and our ideas. We're in alignment. So you made him notice, like November 1st after Halloween, it's like, oh, things feel very pleasant until the evening. And that's when things got tense really quickly, when Mercury started to approach a square with Pluto. Now, this is very tantamount to our letting go point. And there's other aspects that support that, but Mercury is our mind, and is our nervous systems and our energy and our motion. And Pluto is very much about transmutation and evolution and stuff like that. So squares tend to create tension between these planets and these ideas. So where our minds were going and where our natural tendency to evolve and grow were going, we're definitely like in a little bit of conflict around that time. Moving to page 2. So what's coming up tomorrow? I said Uranus is a very huge player. We have a new moon in Scorpio. Scorpio energy, that's Pluto. So again, we talked about Pluto a second ago. And I'm going to go over these kind of quickly, just to let you know. But and then Sharita can fill in the blanks because she knows a lot more than I do. But the new moon, is a new moon is a sun moon conjunction. That's why the moon is new. They're together. They're conjunct. And Uranus is in a 0-degree orb, like an exact opposition to that. And it's the moon being in Pluto and Uranus being in Taurus brings a lot of revolutionary change, and especially given that Pluto is in the USA's second house of finance and government and stuff like that in Capricorn. So that's the government part. So this is a very powerful, explosive, and opening new moon. Like I said before, what did I say before? Uranus is a huge player. Yeah, this month is a good letting go point. Your letting go doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. It just means that we have to be willing to surrender the old. And the more we can let go and surrender the old and embrace the new, the easier our transition is going to be. So also on the 4th, tomorrow, Mercury and Mars will also oppose Uranus. Oh, that's mid-month. Okay, never mind. These are just other what I wrote down are other things that Uranus, the planet of revolution, is doing. Mars, it can be war and energy. Mercury is again the mind, ideas, and then it's trining Jupiter early in the month, which is ideals. So on the 10th, Mercury and Mars will conjunct, and they'll square Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign that Uranus rules. So again, Uranus is a major player. Saturn is about the structure. Uranus wants to blow up the structure. Mars is very energetic, as is Mercury. So that conjunction squaring Saturn is also part of the energies of this month. And that leads into 11/11. And 11 is the magical doorway to the unknown, to the spirit world. 11 is 2 pillars with an opening in between. So it's a very magical number. It also carries the same prefix as elevation, elevate, elevator. So this is about elevating. And I'm going to do a video about 11/11 that's going to be released on the 11th. And we're going to do a transmission. So for those of you that are new to the channel, I do energy transmissions. So Spirit's able to activate my energy fields. And as I lead the meditation, it can activate your energy fields. And we do light code activation to help those DNA strands to fire up so that we're able to achieve our next level of awakening. It's like an illumination or an awakening. A lot of people are doing this now, and I do this, virtually every week. Not always on YouTube, but I do this every week. So we're going to do a lot of ascension work on 11/11. So then we come into the full moon. I didn't write the date down. I think that's what is that? The 19th is the full moon, and it's an eclipse. So eclipses intensify the energies, and they pull energies apart, and that helps things to rise to the surface. So we're going to have a new moon, a full moon eclipse. So that's a lunar eclipse when the moon is full. Sun in Scorpio, moon in Taurus, and again, Uranus is also in Taurus, so that plays in. So, but another thing is that we're going to have Venus and Uranus trining, which is very harmonious at the same time. So that can bring some accord and cooperation amidst things like government matters, money matters, and stuff like that. And of course, we're heading to the Pluto return. So it's as we go into this full moon, even though it's an eclipse, it's very heavy energy. And the anytime that Scorpio is involved in a full moon, whether the sun or the moon's in Scorpio, it takes on that extra intensity. And again, it's about evolution. But humanity and compassion have a real chance of gaining an inroad and starting to win out. So we're going to feel like we have a lot of celestial help, whether it's from the extraterrestrials or from our spirit guides or interdimensional beings. We're being guided through this. So that is the good news. And again, there's no bad news. This is a historical time. Awakenings bring challenge, and part of that's because the human ego is structured in a way to help us survive, and it resists change. So we have to be able to be present, to be in our breath, in our presence, and be able to just flow and embrace change and be grateful for that. So where are we? I want to get into a few predictions. Some of this is based on the astrology, but I sat down, I did some channeling last night, I did some automatic writing. Know that predictions are points of references. They are definitely not written in stone. I'm not the person, I'm not the psychic that gets all the world predictions. That's somebody else. But sometimes they come through. But having said that, prediction number one, the Matrix is losing its integrity. Who saw the movie The Matrix? So there's whether it's symbolic or literal, we're sort of living this kind of computer simulation energy right now. There's actually science that tries to prove that. So a lot of scientists are wondering if that's literal. But we can look at the Matrix as the illusion of physical reality or whatever. It's and we can almost look at this as a computer program, because part of our reality is programmed. It's wired into us from the governments, from the force of the be or whatever. The Matrix or the computer program is pixelating, and and what we're going to see is it's starting to lose its integrity more and more, and the fabrics of reality continue to break down and shift. And what that means for us as awakening spiritual people, you may start to feel you're getting more gaps in time. You're getting like weird synchronicities. You're getting a lot of symptoms in the body and stuff like that. And that weird things are happening. So November is a real apex of energy. It's going to carry through the next 6 months. And there's another eclipse, a solar eclipse, right in the beginning of December. So that's number one. The Matrix is losing its intensity. Prediction number two is tensions tighten between factions. Frustrations boil over. Freedom fighters and whistle blowers emerge. Something overturned like mandates. So I wrote this stuff down, and we're seeing certain courses of action to deal with the main issue in our society being mandated more and more. But I do feel like some voices are going to emerge that are going to help those that don't want to be controlled but want to maintain their right to choose. I'll put it that way. But we're going to see probably more demonstrations, more violence. I mean, Mars, Pluto, Uranus, all these very powerful planets are in play, and a lot of things are boiling over. And the forces that be are doing what they can to suppress the awakening and to try to control things and tighten their grip of control. But too many people are awakening. So for us, continue in your process, continue to grow. The thing number three was news of a more contagious variant or something like that may emerge. But overall, I feel like there's going to be some positive news in the course of the pandemic also. But whether it's something that's been planned or it's comes from a laboratory, or if it's natural or whatever, I'm not making any judgments on that at this time. But whatever the case is, I think that's something that's going to show up. It may already be. I don't watch the news so much. Number four, big surge of awakening people beginning in November, like a new wave of that's happening. Again, as people awaken, they start to, the awakening is about really awakening to who we truly are. We're energy, we're spirit. We have bodies, we have identities, we have emotions, we have thoughts, but we are spirit. But we're programmed to really believe that we are our thoughts, emotions, and bodies, and our beliefs and our ideals. Understand that our beliefs are at least 95% programmed into us from people who were imperfect, whose belief systems are programmed into them. It starts from birth. It starts from the programmed belief that we're somehow separate from who we are as spirit. And our parents, who we rely on for our shelter, for our warmth, for our food, for our lives, who we look at as gods, are telling us things and doing things that we know intrinsically go against who we are as spirit. It creates a lot of conflict from a very early age. And then we wind up adapting their belief systems and so forth and so on. When we start to awaken, that starts to break down. So that's number 4, and there's a surge of that. Okay, so number 5, I wrote down turnaround in virus, some very favorable news, more acceptance of alternatives. That would be amazing news. Like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I'm nothing against vaccines personally. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I think for those that need it, it's a very good and valuable thing. However, there are some issues with the speed, say, of which this was developed, the lack of alternatives that were being that people are the medical industry or the government are sort of withholding, like other alternatives that may be great, they may not be, but we don't know if they're not being tossed around and at least put out there as a possibility. So some turnaround, possible shutdowns of a major financial firm that popped in, whether it's like part of the stock exchange or one of the big banks or one of the major financial players. Keep an eye on your money. Safe investments is a good idea. And then prediction number 7 was more love. The more love, well, it's not really a prediction, but the more love we pour into the collective, the smoother it will be. We must do the soul work. So more people will be doing their soul work. So moving right along, we were attempting to keep this at a half hour. We'll do our best. So here are the 5 things we need to know, to prepare, and some spiritual practices, graphene oxide and spike proteins. Okay, yes, people are breaking out of the more and more. Exactly. That's really part of the awakening for sure. Sharita, 11/8, 1 p.m. Yes. Had a lovely angel download ringing as you said that. Thank you. From Scorpio Moon. Okay. Very good. So number 1, spiritual growth will be happening from the roots up this month. In other words, develop the lower chakras, and the higher chakras will build from that. We cannot lose our grounding. So a lot, as we develop intuitively, we're opening our upper chakras, and it's always a good idea to develop your lower chakras. It just becomes, it's just like this number 1 is really about doubling down on working with the root and the sacral chakras, getting them strong and firm, and then developing the upper chakras from a strong base, a strong foundation. The thing is that the energies, the frequency of energy that's affecting all life in Earth has been increasing and accelerating, but it's going to be accelerating more. This new moon is a doozy, and then it comes in, and it's not negative, but it's a doozy, and it's coming in with right with the eclipses coming right after that. A good practice is to do a good tree meditation. In the Catskills, and my regulars know exactly what I'm going to say, the white pines are the first ones to blow down in the storm because their root systems are shallow. The birches that have very deep root systems and a very solid core in their trunk, so they have a good core mass as well as deep roots, They withstand storms very, very well. And we need to be able to withstand this energetic storm because, again, the energy is increasing. It taxes the nervous system, it taxes the glandular system, but also all the stress and all the fear programming, is not good for us either, because it induces a lot of adrenaline and cortisol and keeps us in that fight or flight mentality, which reduces our immunity and shrinks basically our crown chakra, because we have to be in our physical bodies to survive. Well, we're not really having to survive, but when we feel fear, that's how the body responds. This is a survival issue. We need to take energy from our higher systems and bring them down right into the survival. So growth happens from the root up. Do tree meditations and you relax, you bring your roots really deep, start to breathe in from the roots, bring golden light, feel your body is very strong and solid, and visualize branches that extend to the heavens. So that you're rooted, but you're also connected to spirit. So that's one practice that they recommended. Any grounding exercise will be good. So that's number one thing that we need to know. Thing number two that we need to know, it is a spiritual awakening that clashes with powers of control. Do release work. Increased disparity puts more pressure on the glandular and nervous systems. So I kind of was talking about that, but that is the second thing that we need to know, that basically, whether you believe in aliens that look like reptiles, or if you just look back at history and know that there's always been small groups of people seeking to control larger groups of people. This is a level of evolution we're pulling out of. That's part of the awakening. And the powers that control things are going to do their darndest to try to delay that or prevent that. And we're going to see more and more than that. The more they feel like they're losing their grip, the more control that we're going to experience. Some of that is energetic. Remember also that this country was founded on Rosicrucians. That's ceremonial magic. The powers that be understand energy, understand how to manipulate human consciousness through manipulation of energy. And then there's technology to augment that. And then there's again just the powers of we're programmed by the power of repetition. We hear the same things, the same news over and over again. We have the same fear reactions. So a couple things to do. They're saying to do a lot of breath work where you're pumping the belly. Like, in other words, when you exhale, you pump the belly in. When you inhale, you draw it out. In yoga practice, it's the breath of fire. Now, this moves energy through the lower chakras into the upper chakras, and it's a cleansing breath, and it's an energizing breath. So the idea is do this daily, just like you can't see, but my belly's pumping, and it may take some practice. You put your hands on your belly. When you exhale, feel your belly going towards your spine, squeezing your spine and belly together on the exhale, and then inhale, pulling it in. So practice that, develop that ability. Wim Hof breathing is also good. Thank you, Amy, for that too. This is, I learned this through Kundalini yoga practice. And on the exhale, imagine with each exhale, you're actually releasing old toxic energy, whether it's energetic toxin, whether it's old faulty belief systems, whatever it is. It's coming out with each exhale. Another thing they said to do is do the lion, and that's a yoga pose. And at the risk of looking funny, what you do is you inhale, then when you exhale, you stick your tongue out like so, and go. So inhale, then exhale. And that's very good for your throat chakra. And again, that gives a lot of energetic release. And the third thing they said is get in the habit of speaking your truth. A lot of people become people pleasers because they grew up with a lot of tension. Tension feels yucky. So we start to sacrifice our own boundaries and well-being and our own truth by being non-authentic to please others, just to have some peace and tranquility. We need to get over that. We need to accept that tension is okay. Thank you for everybody that's adding to this. I appreciate your ads, by the way. So keep adding on the comment stream. We are a community. I only have some of the information. As a community, we have it all. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Amy, Elevated Intuition, Tarot and Spirituality, Michael, and everybody else that's contributing. I'd be sued. Well, you don't want to be sued. You have everything in balance. I'm a Libra. Sometimes you do need to exercise discernment. So yeah, good point. So number 4, and this is a big one, what we let go of now, we let go of for good. That's what Spirit was saying. That's the energy of the month of November. What we're able to let go of in November, and that's going to carry into December, by the way, we are able to let go of for good. So to let go, how do we let go? It starts by being in the now. It starts by becoming the observer of our emotional reactions, because our belief system and our programming virtually dictates how we're going to react in every conceivable situation in life. Now, when we react to something in the present, it's because we experienced something in the past that created a certain emotional reaction, probably through repetition, same, negativity or whatever it is, traumas, programming, whatever that it is. So what we want to do is we want to observe how we're reacting rather than be those reactions, because when we react to our environment, we're basically recreating the past and the present, because we're having an emotional reaction we had to some kind of a parallel circumstances in the past timeline. So we're making our past our present, and because our minds are records of the past, but they are also creators of the future. So we create our reality through our feelings, emotions, thoughts, and beliefs. We create this, our past, into our future. So we want to break that chain, and we do that basically by becoming the observer of your reactions. Now, Wim Hof, I'm sure, talks about also, but Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this. So, if you don't know who he is, check him out. And they're saying to use long, deep breathing techniques as a tool to let go. So again, awareness is the first step. Be the observer rather than the participant of your reactions. Observe how you're reacting. But do this 3 times a day. I teach this a lot. It's not anything original. A lot of people teach long, deep breathing. So when you inhale the energy of love into your heart. Circulate that around the exhale, and consciously release all unhealthy patterns, all past programming, all negativities, purging difficult people, that kind of a thing. They're also saying to do some fasting and cleansing, clean up the diet. Letting go can be physical also. We want to let go of all the old stuff. We're awakening. We're coming into a new reality within ourselves. Awakening, exactly. Yes, very good. Purge difficult people and relationships and trust. This is the time, a lot of people have been doing this, but it's reaching a point where we just can't have toxic people in our lives. We can't have people that are afraid to awaken, that are pulling on you and preventing you from growing spiritually. We need to be in our power and in our truth, in order, firstly, to be okay, emotionally, mentally, and physically, but also because we're all way showers and we're all here to help others awaken and grow. So that's number 4. And number 5, important thing to do now is to live in the heart. And they're saying to actually practice radiating outwards from the heart. And you can do this as a meditation where you relax and just feel your heart chakra glowing, and feel that glow starting to permeate through your body and start to permeate into your aura and start to permeate into your room and start to expand into the world around you, start to expand into collective consciousness. And if you do this every day, it starts to become a habit. Then the habit starts to become a program. We've been programmed by society through repetition, hearing the same things, experiencing the same things over and over again. Doing things as a daily practice, have a daily spiritual practice, starts to foster new habits. They become new programs because the subconscious mind works on programs. Rather than letting society program us, it's time that we start to program ourselves. So, living from the heart, radiating from the heart, do heart brain coherence. I have a live stream from September 24th. The same thumbnail as this. Let's get spiritual, and I think the title is "The Spirituality of the Future: Heart Brain Coherence." You can also go to Heart Math Institute and learn their version of the techniques, or you can go to my live stream and learn my version of the technique. Um, but they're also so that's a technique and a practice. Where you raise the emotional frequency of the heart to compassion, gratitude, and according to Greg Braden, also appreciation and what's the other one? Appreciation, caring, compassion, and gratitude. I add reverence to that also, but the idea when you increase the emotional frequency of the heart becomes coherent because that's what hearts want to feel. They won't want to feel fear. They don't want to feel anger. They don't want to feel resentment and all these things that are programmed into us that makes our heart, not the rhythms, but the energetic flows very incoherent. So when we practice this daily, the heart becomes coherent and the brain and the heart are basically one organ and two sides of the same energy. There's even cells unique to the heart and the brain that's found nowhere else in the body. The brain starts to become coherent also. And then the other thing they were saying is placing hands on heart as another heart coherence exercise and circulating the energy. And the way that you do this is firstly, feel the energy of your hands. People that do Reiki, can do this already. So start to maybe just feel that your hands, radiate energy. And then you place them in your heart. And then when you inhale, you take energy from all around you through your root center and draw that into your heart and circulate that in your body. Then when you exhale, you can release that down through your down through your root and into the earth. So inhaling, and you can reverse that, but experiment circulating the energy. So taking the energy of love and light all around you, inhaling that into your heart, exhaling, or actually, this is what they're saying to do. Bring that into your root and your sacral chakra. So when you inhale and your hands on your heart, bring the energy from all around you and draw that into your lower two chakras. Then when you exhale, bring the energy up through your shoulders and your hands and exhale that into your heart, and then feel the energy start to rise into your crown chakra and then expand. So again, let me just recapitulate. So having your hands in your heart, the center of your chest, feeling the love and the light of the universe around you. So as in mediumship, we call that sitting in the power, where we feel our heart and feel the greater light of love of spirit around us. So you inhale that light in through your root and your sacral chakra. Then as you exhale, you bring the energy up your spine, through your shoulders, and out through your hands into your heart center, feeling your heart center opening and expanding, and then sending that energy up through your crown, through the top of your head, and just feel your crown opening and expanding. Do that every day, anywhere from 3 to 11 minutes, 1, 2, 3 times a day will work. And that's basically what I have for the Ascension updates for November. I have to let go people. I don't know why you'd have to let go of dead people, because they're not actively. When people die, they're not of their bodies and egos anymore, so they're not actively working against your awakening. People are indoctrinated into fear. They don't mean to, but they will. If they're not evolved or they're not working on themselves, they can bring you down. Just to sum up, you're here in this time for a specific reason. It's a glorious great awakening. It's evolution of humanity that's happening. You're drawn to this work because you are a healer, a way shower, a teacher, and the better you make yourself and the more you awaken, the brighter your light will shine and the more people you'll help to awaken. The idea is to get to that tipping point, that 100th monkey, where the vibration of collective consciousness reaches a certain threshold, and then everybody's ascended DNA starts to light up, and then they start to awaken also. So again, I'll be doing transmissions regularly to help you in the process of your DNA activations and awakening. Next one on the channel is going to be November the 11th, 11/11. So that's going to be a big one because that's a big portal that happens every year. Um, and then we're having Sharita on the 8th. And again, the last thing I want to say is because there's such change in society, may have a hard time keeping up with it. I think another thing is we're going to continue to feel the supply lines being threatened, and we're going to continue to see people, feeling the pressure of financial stuff and jobs ending and all this thing where they're trying to scare people and control people. The idea is to prepare for the worst, but do the spiritual work and create the best. So it's a good idea to have supplies if we run out of supplies temporarily. I know our spirits are working with us. I know the angels are working with us. I know our guides are working with us, and are seeing us through this. So I don't really feel like there's going to be any major disaster, or the end of the world, or the doomsday machine, or any of that stuff. So anyway, so that's basically what we have. And then I wrote at the bottom, clear the heart of trauma and programming. All right, so well, we kept it under 45 minutes anyway. I'm aiming for a half hour on these, so yeah, I'm trying to be less wordy and a little bit more succinct with my deliveries here. So anyhow, that's what I have for you. Thank you. And we'll see you next time. Namaste. I love you.